So, tentative natin 9. Okay. So, tentative natin September 9 ang filing. O final yun. So, hindi September 1. Hindi September 1, September 9. Oh, ito, pwede naman magpa-reserve ng number. Importante naman na kung kailan tayo, kailan yung date ng printing natin, September 9. Okay nga, September 9. September 9 natin siya ipapile. Okay, September 9 natin siya ipapile. Ano ba? Oo nga, pero ang ano natin, filing natin talaga September 9. Okay? Tama? Sige, confirm mo na kung September 9 tayo. 24 hours lang, 24 hours lang yung ina-allow. Okay. Halimbawa, ito, halimbawa, papile natin siya at least 1 or 2 days pwede matagal. Kaya nga, di ba, pag nag-file tayo ng advance, hindi tayo ng number, madaling tao tayo. So, September 9. Yeah. Okay. Okay, okay. Okay.
The hearing of the Committee on Appropriations is resumed. Good afternoon, everyone. We are here for the briefing of the Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation. COMSEC, can you please acknowledge our members and invited guests present here this afternoon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. May we acknowledge the officials of the Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporations for joining us this afternoon via Zoom and at the plenary. Allow me to mention first, at the plenary, Ricardo Faraon, Vice President, Enterprise Services Group, Attorney Arnold Ferdinand Salvosa, Assistant Vice President, Legal Group, Ramon Stephen Villaflor, Acting Vice President, and joining us via Zoom, Chairperson and CEO Andrea Domingo, Attorney Juanito Sanyosa Jr., Attorney Roderick Consolacion, Dondi Orlina, Ronald Pineda, Anthony Bondoc, Sharon Quantanilla, Attorney Victor Padilla, Attorney Lea Marie Cernal, Attorney Angeline Papica Entienza. And we have also ABP Corporate Communications Carmelita Valdez and Ronnie Soriano, Regulatory Manager. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. So we'll start with the presentation of Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation, your accomplishments. The Chair would like to recognize the Chairperson and Chief Executive Officer of Pagcor, Andrea Domingo. COMSEC, can you check the connection of the Pagcor Chair and CEO? So the Chair would like to give the floor to the Chair and CEO of Pagcor,
Okay.
Andrea Domingo.
All right. Can you hear me now, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you loud and clear. Please proceed.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to give a very brief background on Pagcor and how it was created. In 1978, Pagcor was created by former President Ferdinand E. Marcos through PD 1869, otherwise known as Pagcor Charter. At this time, it was really aimed at curbing illegal gambling and stopping illegal casinos from operating that proliferated along Rojas Boulevard. Because even at that time, they could not seem to stop, just arrest everybody and put them in jail. They could not seem to stem illegal gambling, so they opted to actually legalize it with Pagcor as the sole operator of all gaming stations. It was therefore from that time just a monopoly of Pagcor to operate gaming stations. However, in 2008, Congress enacted Republic Act number 9487, which is titled An Act Further Amending PD 1869, otherwise known as Pagcor Charter. Under the amendment, Pagcor has been authorized to operate licensed gambling casinos, gaming clubs, and other similar recreation or amusement places, gaming pools like basketball, football, bingo, etc., whether on land or sea, within the territorial jurisdiction of the Republic of the Philippines, except one, Hayalay, two, games of chance authorized, licensed, and regulated, or to be authorized, licensed, and regulated by, in, and under existing franchises or other regulatory bodies. 3. Games of chance, games of cards, and cards of numbers authorized, licensed, regulated by, in, and other special laws, and games of chance, games of cards, and games of numbers like cockfighting, authorized, licensed, and regulated by the local government units. Also, Pagcor was given the authority to enter into, make, conclude, perform, and carry out contracts of every kind and nature, and for any lawful purpose which are necessary, appropriate, proper, or incidental to any business or purpose of the Pagcor, including but not limited to investment agreements, joint venture agreements, management agreements, agency agreements, whether as principal or as an agent, manpower supply agreements, or any other similar agreements or arrangements with any person, firm, association, or corporation. So in 2008, we started to, to license and regulate, to license private entities to go into the gaming industry. The monopoly of Pagcor over gaming was thus broken. And with that, the integrated resorts and casinos rose, the e-bingo casino, e-bingo games, and also the e-games stations were also authorized. And lately, we have the online games, which is the POGO, offshore gaming, as well as the e-sabong. Our major thrust and plans and programs for 2020, which is number one in our agenda, is really to regulate very strictly and very closely all gaming operations. This is not only to increase gross gaming revenues of the industry, but also to prevent proliferation and irresponsible gaming. If we are able to increase gross gaming revenues of the industry through effective and efficient regulation, we would be able to increase revenues of Pagcor and the government, and also increase contribution to national government coffers and nation building efforts. As you know, Your Honors, 70% of our income goes directly back to government. But more importantly also, and which is the President's mandate to me when I was appointed in June 2016, is to ensure a conducive business environment within a level playing field, improve product services and operational efficiency to ensure fair play among our clients, and enhance employee competency and motivation. We also have now a new mandate, which is to cooperate with AMLAC to prevent money laundering that may finance terrorism and other such international crimes. So this is one of our mandates now. What we have done is that we have actually been able to computerize most of our systems. Most of our regulatory functions are being carried out on a 24-hour real-time basis. And this is the reason that why we have been doing very well since 2016 and has in 2019 doubled 2015 revenues. However, in 2020 with the pandemic and in 2021, we're now suffering a little bit, well, more than half of what we used to have. We have 7 items in our presentation. I am finished with number 1. Number 2 and 3, which are the financials, will be presented by our Assistant Vice President for Accounting. Number 4, the significant accomplishments of Pagcor in 2020 and the first semester of 2021 will be presented by VP Thibaut Villaflor, who's in charge of our Corporate Responsibility Group. Report items number 5 and 6, report on cash dividend remittances and report on the status of remittances of funds under the Universal Healthcare Act would be presented by Attorney Salvosa, our Assistant Vice President for Legal Corporate Affairs, and other significant accomplishments would be presented by our Vice President Rick Faraon, who is our Marketing and Enterprise Services head. So we would like now to proceed with the financials with AVP Sharon Quintanilla presenting. Sharon.
The chair would like to recognize AVP Sharon Quintanilla. You may now proceed with your presentation. Please
Sharon.
unmute your microphone. Pagcor AVP Sharon Quintanilla.
Thank you po, Chairman. The following slides show our operational and financial highlights for 2020, 2021, and 2022. Next slide, please. In 2020, Pagcor posted a total income of 36 billion. During the same year, Pagcor allocated 21.61 billion contributions to nation building. This amount includes the 5% franchise tax, the 50% government share, host city share, socio-civic projects, and other mandated contributions. By the end of 2021, Pagcor estimated a total revenue of 36.88 billion and contributions of 23.75 billion to nation building. For 2022, Pagcor aims to generate a total income of 50.74 billion and allocate 33.18 billion to nation building. Next slide, please. The slide shows improvement in operational efficiency from 2016 to 2019, considering the downward trend of Pagcor's OPEX over total income ratio and marketing to win ratio, while that of our net income to total income ratio shows an upward trend. For 2020 and up to July 31, 2021, even during the pandemic, with the efficient management of available resources and implementation of strict cost-saving measures, OPEX are maintained at acceptable level that is even lower than the OPEX ratio from 2008 to 2014 that ranges from 37% to 48%. Next slide, please. The next slide will show the distribution of Pagcor's income from 2018 to 2020 actual, 2021 estimate, and 2022 projected. Under Pagcor's charter, the 5% of the agency's income from gaming operations goes to the BIR as franchise tax. 50% of the 95% balance goes to the National Treasury as the national government's mandated income share. 50% of the said government share will then be remitted by the Bureau of Treasury to PhilHealth as contribution for the universal health care. Cities hosting Pagcor casinos are given fixed amount for their respective community development projects. Pagcor also allocates part of its revenue to socio-civic projects. Pursuant to the National Internal Revenue Code, Pagcor is paying corporate income tax. Special laws also tap Pagcor as a major funding source, including the Board of Claims, Early Childhood Care Development Act of 2018, and the Philippine Sports Commission. We would like to point out that on top of the regular PSC share, Pagcor also provide incentive to athletes and coaches per RA 10699. In fact, in the recently concluded Tokyo Olympics, Pagcor provided a total of 38.5 million incentives. The details of the said incentive are as follows. For winning gold in weightlifting, Ms. Heidelin Diaz got 10 million. For winning silver in boxing, Mr. Carlo Paalam got 5 million. For winning silver in boxing, Ms. Nesty Petesio got 5 million. For winning bronze in boxing, Mr. Yumir Felix Marshall got 2 million. Overall, the medalists got a total of 22 million incentives. Per RA 10699 also, 50% of what the athletes received, or an equivalent amount of 11 million, were also given to their coaches as incentives. For setting new record, incentives were also given. For a new Olympic and national record, Ms. Heidelin Diaz got an additional 5 million. And for setting new national record, swimmer Luke Michael Gevi got 250,000 and weightlifter Elrin and Ando got 250,000. Next slide, please. We now go to Pagcor's accomplishments in 2020 and first semester of 2021. In 2020, the agency posted 29.99 billion in income from gaming operations. It is lower by 45.76 billion or 60.4% compared to the 75.75 billion income in 2019. Next slide. In 2020, the agency posted 36 billion in total income. That is lower by 45.97 billion or 56.08% compared to the 81.97 billion total income in 2019. For 2020, Pagcor's total contribution to nation building reached 21.61 billion. It is lower by 34.74 billion or 61.65% compared to the 56.35 billion contributions in 2019. Also in 2020, Pagcor remitted a total of 5.59 billion in taxes to the Bureau of Internal Revenue. Of this amount, 6.32 million pertains to the corporate income tax, 5.25 billion for franchise tax, and 333.32 million in withholding taxes. The next three slides will be presented by Attorney Arnold Ferdinand Salvosa, AVP of Corporate Services Department.
Okay,
Thank you
thank you
po.
very much. AVP Quintanilla. Next,
Your Honor,
the chair would like to recognize AVP Arnold Salvosa.
good afternoon, Your Honor.
Please
Uh,
proceed with your presentation.
Thank you, Your Honor. Pursuant to Republic Act number 7656, on top of its contributions to nation building, Pagcor declares and remits at least 50% of its annual net earnings as cash dividends to the national government. For calendar year 2019, Pagcor turned over 18 billion pesos cash dividends to the national treasury, and for calendar year 2020, 5 billion cash dividends was remitted. We would like to point out that for 2019, the regular cash dividends declared should only amount to 5.52 billion, but as requested by the Department of Finance, an additional dividend of 12.48 billion pesos was declared for a total of 18 billion pesos. For calendar year 2020, the regular cash dividend should only be 811.29 million, but as required again by the Department of Finance, an additional dividend of 4.18 billion was declared for the total 5 billion pesos. The additional cash dividends, according to the DOF, will serve as Pagcor's invaluable contribution to the government's much-needed resources to provide funds for COVID-19 related emergency measures and actions to address its economic impact. Said additional advanced cash dividends may be applied against future dividend obligations of Pagcor. Next slide, please. On the matter of our funding for the National Health Care Act, based on item 4.1.2 of the guidelines of Section 37 of RA 1122.3 or the Universal Health Care Act of 2019, Pagcor shall remit 50% of its gaming revenue to the Bureau of Treasury every 20th of the month. The Bureau of Treasury shall then transfer the 50% of the national government share to PhilHealth at the end of each quarter, subject to the usual budgeting, accounting, and auditing rules and regulations. Provided further that the funds shall be used by PhilHealth to improve its benefit packages. For 2019, the 50% to be remitted to the Bureau of Treasury amounted to 17.96 billion pesos. For 2020, it is at 7.09 billion, and for the first semester of 2021, it is at 3.49 billion pesos. For our operations and income during the first semester of 2021, the total income reached 15.88 billion pesos, of which 10.05 billion or 63.3% of the said total income went to nation building program. That concludes my portion of the report. I would like to turn over to Mr. VP Villaflor.
Rick
Thank you
Brown.
very much, AVP Salvosa. Now next to present on behalf of Pagcor to continue, Vice President AVP Villaflor.
Afternoon, Mr. Chairman. I will be discussing the slides, and then for those portions, um, there will be two slides to be discussed by Vice President Rick Faraon. For the other significant accomplishments of Pagcor, one of Pagcor's major projects is the multipurpose evacuation centers, which, with an initial budget of 2 billion to fund typhoon resilient structures, which will be constructed in different locations nationwide that I identified as calamity prone. Launched in 2019, Pagcor has already released the first tranche of the projects, funding to various local government units, including Rojas and Etiaga in Isabela, Caloocan City, San Jose del Monte in Bulacan, Cabuyao and San Pablo City in Laguna, Lobo, Batangas, Silago, Southern Leyte, and Poblacion in San Andres, Barangay Camflora and Manego, also in San Andres, Quezon, Tapas, Capiz, Kadjongan in Romblon, Dinas, Zamboanga del Sur, Tagudin, Ilocos Sur, Tadian, Mountain Province, Legazpi City and Ligao in Albay, Ocampo, Tigaon, San Jose and Sangay in Camarines Sur, and San Fernando and Florida Blanca in Pampanga. Pagcor has also unveiled this year the Pagcor Village, a charitable project that seeks to safeguard the living conditions of families displaced by the eruption of Taal volcano in Batangas in 2020. A brainchild project of Pagcor Chairman and CEO Andrea Domingo, the Pagcor Village already broke grounds in the towns of Agoncillo, Lemery, and Balete in the province of Batangas since it was launched in February of 2021. Each Pagcor village has a funding of 30 million pesos. Its main features include 100 housing units of 30 square meters per home and an arc or signage located at the entrance of the project sites. At the next slides will be discussed by Vice President Rick Faraon.
Thank you very much, AVP Ramon Villaflor. Next, the chair would like to recognize Vice President Ricardo Faraon.
Thank you very much,
Please
Your
proceed.
Honor. If I may continue. Cognizant of the plight of many Filipinos whose livelihoods were affected by the global health crisis, Pagcor's top management launched the Pagkain para sa Masa on May 4, 2021 to help provide healthy meals to some low-income families in urban communities. The project came into fruition after Chairman Domingo enjoined the agency's executive committee members and friends to contribute out of their own pockets and buy food items for distribution to households that are in dire need of help. The Pagkain para sa Masa is similar to a food caravan where the items are brought directly to predetermined beneficiaries to to ensure that long queues are avoided while health protocols are strictly observed. Next slide, please. Pagcor showed its appreciation to individuals leading the tough battle against COVID-19 by distributing comfort food to healthcare frontliners through the personal contributions of the chairman and CEO Andrea Domingo and Pagcor's executive committee members. Beneficiaries of Pagcor's food donation include healthcare workers from major hospitals in the National Capital Region, like the National Kidney and Transplant Institute, Lung Center of the Philippines, Philippine Heart Center, East Avenue Medical Center, UP Philippine General Hospital, San Lazaro Hospital, Quirino Memorial Medical Center, Jose Reyes Medical Center, Novaliches District Hospital, Hospital ng Parañaque, Pasay City General Hospital, Hospital ng Sampaloc, and other hospitals outside Metro Manila. Every year, at least 20 tropical cyclones enter the Philippine area of responsibility. Each destructive typhoon is tantamount to millions of pesos lost through damaged crops, infrastructure, and livelihood. Pagcor helps cushion the impact of natural calamities by providing immediate help to affected families. Aside from the distribution of emergency relief packs in disaster areas, the agency also provides financial aid to families of casualties. Some of the major disaster relief operations conducted by the agency in the last quarter of 2020 were in Cagayan, Marikina, and the Bicol region after the onslaught of the super typhoon Rolly. As the pandemic continues to make life difficult for so many individuals and institutions, Pagcor dug deeper into its coffers to provide financial help and other vital aid to other government agencies and healthcare institutions. Some of the recipients of the agency's major financial grants were the Southern Philippines Medical Center in the amount of 350 million for the purchase of cancer treating machines, Veterans Memorial Medical Center in the amount of 123.6 million for the construction of a two-story halfway house for the family and watchers of soldiers confined in VMMC. The state-run gaming firm also recently donated 4.3 million to the Southern Police District, Philippine Red Cross, Philippine Red Cross of Pampanga and Angeles City Chapter, 3.5 million. The Philippine Fiber Industry Development Authority in the amount of 6.1 million. The Philippine National Police, 2.5 million. UP Manila and UPPGH, 20 million. Camp Aguinaldo, Emilio Aguinaldo Station Hospital, 6.3 million. Department of Labor and Employment, 200 million. Ziga Memorial District Hospital in Tabaco, Albay, 50 million. And Cagraray District Hospital in Albay, worth 20 million. Pagcor has also been organizing Pamaskong Handog ng Pagcor. It is an annual Christmas gift-giving tradition for the marginalized sectors of the society. The annual gift-giving event is the agency's way of spreading love to the thousands of indigent families, orphaned and abandoned children, people with disabilities, senior citizens, street sweepers, health workers, indigenous peoples, war veterans, and those who were seemingly forgotten by the society. In 2020, despite the pandemic, Pagcor organized Tuloy ang Pasko, It is a 5-day gift-giving activity that benefited over 9,000 individuals from the vulnerable sectors of our society. That ends the report. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pagcor Vice President Ricardo Paraon. Thank you, Pagcor family, for that presentation. Most especially to our chairperson and CEO of Pagcor, Andrea Domingo. So we now go on to our members who wish to interpellate the Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation. First, the chair would like to recognize first on the list for the majority. I'd like to recognize Deputy Speaker Bienvenido Benny Abante.
Magandang hapon po, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me?
Good afternoon, Deputy Speaker Abante. Please proceed with your interpellation.
Okay, magandang hapon din po, Madam Chair,
Magandang hapon po.
Domingo, and family of Pagcor. Just want to have some clarifications, no, because I'm not really familiar with any kind of gambling. Pero, Madam Chair, meron pa ba tayo ritong POGO operation sa Pilipinas?
Halos kalahati na lang. Marami na ho ang nagsara. More than half have already closed. They went to Cambodia and Vietnam and Laos.
Ito pong kalahating ito are now paying taxes na po.
Oh yes. They've always been paying taxes po, kaya lang may bago yatang batas ngayon where definitely kung ano na yung babayaran nila has been clearly stated.
So malaki na po yung parang income ng Pagcor na nabawasan. Magkano na po yung income na binibigay ng POGO?
Dati po, umaabot na ng 8 to 9 billion a year yung POGO. Sa ngayon, itong last 6 months namin, umaabot pa lang kami ng mga 1.6 billion. So kung mag-ano, parang aabot lang hanggang 4 billion. Kalahati ho talaga dahil kalahati na lang ang nag-ooperate.
Okay. Mr. Chair,
Okay. For your follow-up
nabanggit
question,
po
Deputy
ng
Speaker Abante.
nabanggit po ng ating Pagcor chief that the government is able to generate 350 to 400 million pesos monthly from Isabong as of August of 2021. Tama po ba ang figures na yan?
Opo. Kasi po nung simulan na naming i-regulate yung otherwise unregulated isabong, isa po sa condition namin, meron silang minimum guarantee fee na babayaran every month ng 75 million. Whether they earn 75 or not, they have to give us 75 million. And then kung ano man yung excess nun, meron din formula to be able to extract the revenues due the government.
So, Mr. Chair,
Deputy Speaker.
this figure is solely based on the fixed regulatory fees. Ano po?
Hindi po. Meron din po kasi kaming real-time monitors niyan, yung aming monitoring and enforcement department na tinitingnan ho kung ilang play bawat isang operator ang nangyayari sa isang araw. Pag po yung number of play nag-exceed doon sa 12, kasi charge ho ng 12,500 per game. Pagka nag-exceed ho doon, yung yun ang babayaran, whichever is higher. 75 million, whether you earn it or not, you pay. But if you generate more revenues than 75 million, you pay the higher revenue.
Kaya balita ko po, the Isabong play would be at parang 24/7, ano po?
Oo, ganun nga ho yan ngayon.
Okay. So,
Pero po sir, clarify ko lang po sir, Your Honor.
Yes.
Bago po namin yan ni-regulate, existing na po yan as mas marami pa pong operator. So, noon pong ni-regulate namin, at least po, na control namin yung pagtaya nung talagang hindi kayang tumaya para magkakaroon kami ng minimum bets at minimum deposits at saka ho yung mga kabataan talaga pong hinuhuli at kinukulong kung sino man ang makitang nagpapataya sa bata. At ini-scroll po namin sa lahat ng play namin, those who let minors play this game will be prosecuted by law.
So, Mr. Chair, namo-monitor niyo po ito na maigi.
Thank you po.
Okay. So, under the financial considerations and obligations and miscellaneous provisions, operations shall be monitored by CMED, no?
Opo.
CMED for iGaming will be in charge of checking and validating the actual number of fights offered for betting by the operator per day.
Opo.
The CMED for iGaming, together with Pagcor's third-party audit platform, must continuously monitor and ensure that the eSabong platform captures all data and properly accounts and reports the same. CMED was also required to create its own IR for the proper monitoring of eSabong. So meron po ba tayong IRR dito? Ano po ba ang inyong agreement dito?
Pagcor Chair.
Talaga po yung sa back office, yun po ang aming monitors. Lahat po kasi ng IP addresses nila login sa amin. Tapos pinapanood ho talaga yung mga nagpapalaro ng 24 hours. Kaya nga po yung ibang mga laro na napanood na nagpapalaro ng gagamba, mga ganon, napaalis na po namin yun kasi hindi po covered yun ng license nila.
Wow. So Mr. Chair, Madam Chair, talagang ang inyong trabaho dito, meron talagang tatrabaho ng 24/7, no?
Yes, sir. Opo.
Okay.
Kahit na po ngayong pandemic, lalong ngayong pandemic sa online gaming, nakatutok po talaga kami dyan dahil sarado halos lahat ng aming stations.
Okay. Mr. Chair, currently, Madam Chair, four firms are in operation, which are Esports Encuentro Live Corporation, Visayas Cockers Club, Belvedere Visto Corporation, and Lucky 8-Star Quest Incorporated. As of yesterday, August 26, 2021, 12 are on the wait list to be approved by Pagcor. However, Pagcor Chair, nabanggit po ninyo, mentioned that she put a cap on the number of online cockfight betting operators to 12, leaving only 8 spots. Pagcor only allowed 4, but some firms are still operating even without license. So, ano po yung mga steps na ginagawa po ninyo to monitor the eSabong platforms? Ano po yung basis ng cap?
Sir,
Yes, Pagcor Chair,
ang
for your
Pagcor
response.
po, nakikipagtulong. Ang mga operators po namin na active na ngayon, na qualify na magkaroon ng license to and notice to proceed, sila rin po ang tumutulong sa amin na mag-detect kung sino yung mga illegal at binibigay yung IP addresses. Meron din po kaming mga intelligence network because we network with NBI Cybercrime and the PNP Cybercrime and the DOJ Cybercrime. Tapos po yan, nilireport po namin sa DICT at sila po ang nagbablock ng mga IP addresses na yan. Marami na rin pong na-block. Ang PNP po naman nagkaroon ng direct order from the President na hulihin lahat ng illegal sabong. Kaya po halos araw-araw ngayon, meron po talagang nahuhuling illegal e-sabong. At yung pati ho yung mga nagpapataya sa bahay, nare-raid na rin po ngayon.
Okay. Ano po
Deputy
ang
Speaker
status ng
Abante,
inyong
I would like
investigating
to,
online sites
Deputy Speaker,
that have been legally operating? Mr. Chair.
before that, Deputy Speaker,
Okay
Abante,
po ako.
the Chair would like to remind you of the 5-minute rule. You still have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Salamat po. Oo. So let me ask again, no, Mr. Chair, the status of investigating online sites na ginagawa po ng Pagcor. And also, what is the estimated earnings of unlicensed operators? And also, thirdly, meron bang penalty yung mga unlicensed operators when they operate legally?
Sir,
Pagcor,
first,
Chair.
I'd like to clarify na ang Pagcor, limited po sa regulation, hindi po kami kasama sa enforcement sa anti-gambling law. Pero po nakikipagtulungan kami nga sa PNP, sa NBI at sa DOJ para matrace po yung mga addresses nung mga illegal gambling IP addresses at marami rin po kaming nakukuha na mga information from Facebook sa social media kasi minsan masyado silang brazen talagang nagpapataya sa social media. Lahat po yan nire-report namin sa NBI. NBI po at saka police ang nag-iimbestiga. Pag po nakuha namin yung mga IP addresses, binigay po yun namin sa DICT at napakabilis naman po nilang nabablock off lahat yan. Katulad po last week, may nag-report po sa yung Visayan operator namin na may mga ganitong addresses, ganitong na nag-illegal gaming. So, yun po, nireport namin agad sa DICT at yun po ay na-block na. Pangalawa pa, yung estimate kung magkano, palagay ko we have actually drastically reduced the revenues generated by illegal gaming kasi po yung apat na nag-ooperate ngayon at may panglimang inapprove ang board kahapon, yung Jade, yan po ang pinakamalalaki na pong operator. At syempre po sila, i-guard din nila yung kanilang negosyo. So pag po meron sila nakitang illegal, inire-report din po sa amin at inire-report sa police. Ang police po may direct mandate from the President na hulihin lahat ng illegal e-sabong. Yun pong third question ninyo, hindi ko na maano.
Deputy Speaker Abante,
Yes.
can you please
Yes.
repeat your third question?
Meron po bang penalty doon sa mga nag-ooperate illegally?
Hinuhuli ho ng NBI tapos kinakasuhan po. Hindi ko lang po alam kung ano yung,
Hindi
nasa
sa
penal
inyo.
code na po yun. Opo.
Okay. So, Mr. Chair, Madam Chair, malinaw po na under the regulatory framework for electronic sabong, the license given to them by your agency is exclusively for cockfighting. Tama po ba ako?
Yes po. Cockfighting
Okay.
inside the country lang po.
But recently, palagay ko alam niyo rin to may sumisikat na online betting na tinatawag na Battle of the YouTubers na kung saan umaabot sa up to 2 million ang taya per event.
Opo.
Nagkakaroon sila ng once a week event for the past 6 months now. At dito po, hindi mga manok ang nilalaban, kundi mga YouTube influencers na karamihan ay mga kabataan through live basketball and boxing matches. Kailangan lang nilang magpa-register using their mobile number. Once registered, they need to cash in through GCash amounting to 200 pesos at the minimum bet para tumalpak ay 100 piso. Mananalo po sila and they can withdraw. Ano pong palagay nyo dito?
Dapat po yan mai-report namin sa NBI at sa PNP at sa DICT. Kasi po hindi yan sakop ng any license na ini-issue namin.
So therefore, meron na po kayong alam tungkol dito?
Yun pong iGaming namin ang nag-keep track ng mga yan. Pero po ako, personally, ngayon ko lang po nalaman and I really appreciate your sharing it with us. So I am going to have somebody look into it very closely.
Please do, Madam Chair. Maraming salamat, Madam Chair Andrea Domingo. Salamat sa iyo.
Salamat po, sir. Maraming salamat
Thank you,
po.
Mr. Chair. Thank you po.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker Bienvenido Abante. Next, the Chair would like to recognize Representative Virilio Vigi Lacson and like to remind our members present, especially those who will interpellate and our invited guests who will respond to the queries of our members to please address the Chair. So the Chair would like to recognize now Representative Vigi Lacson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon to all. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker. As part of the government long-term response to climate change, which caused the excessively strong typhoons that slammed the country, the Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation allocated 2 billion pesos for the construction of multi-purpose evacuation center in typhoon-prone provinces. Now, may we know from the good chairwoman, uh, Andrea Domingo, to kindly inform this chamber the utilization of its fund.
For the reply,
Mr.
the chair would
Chairman, may
like
I
to
request,
recognize
Mr. Chairman, yes, may I request Vice
Chairperson Domingo.
President Tibo Villaflor to give the details and specifically because his department is the one in charge of this.
Okay, the chair would like to recognize AVP Villaflor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Your Honor. The multipurpose evacuation center was a response to the call of the President that since the Philippines is host to several calamities a year, there are areas around the country which really need the evacuation centers because of before we use classrooms and other school facilities to house um, those victims of the different calamities. And in response to the call of the President, our chairman, Andrea Domingo, um, initiated this project to build evacuation centers nationwide that can withstand a structure that can withstand a wind velocity of 250 to 340 kilometers per hour. So majority of the, almost all of the evacuation centers which have already been under construction are in areas like the Bicol region, in the Samar, those which are commonly known as the entrance or the port of entry of typhoons, and also in areas where we have different calamities such as earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. We
Thank you
have
very
the
much. For
three.
your next question, Representative Lacson.
Okay, before points the second question, I'd just like to congratulate first Ramon Stephen Villaflor, the new Vice President of the Corporate Social Responsibility Division. Congratulations, sir. Okay, for my next question, can you please elaborate the Pagcor's effort in helping the national government to succeed in the crisis due to this coronavirus pandemic? Ano yung mga ginagawa natin to help the government uh, for this pandemic response?
From Pagcor,
Your Honor, please.
yes, the chair would like to recognize AVP Arnold Salvosa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Your Honor, as reported earlier, uh, Pagcor increased its dividend declarations in favor of the national government for 2020-2019 in order to assist the national government in its COVID response during this pandemic time. In fact, the increase was substantial, as reported earlier. For instance, for 2019, instead of the regular 5.52 billion that should have been declared as dividends, we declared an additional 12.48 billion to a total of 18 billion for 2019. For 2020, instead of the usual 811.29 million, we declared an additional 4.18 billion dividend to a total of 5 billion in order, of course, to, again, to assist the national government for its COVID response. Also, Your Honor, although I think the remittance will have to be made by the Bureau of Treasury, it's another important aspect for the pandemic response is the Universal Health Care Act. For 2019, our contribution to the Universal Health Care Act would be 17.96 billion pesos. And for 2020, it's 7.09 billion pesos. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you
Representative
for the
Lacson.
answer, Mr. Chair. And so the agency has 5 billion cash dividend uh, remitted to the national government in support for the crucial services or the effort to address the health and economic impact of COVID-19. So I'm satisfied with the answer, Mr. Chair, and I would like to manifest my sincere appreciation and support to Pagcor, especially to their chairperson, uh, Andrea Domingo, for their untiring effort in fighting this with our national government in this crisis. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Salamat po.
Thank you, Representative Virilio Lacson of Manila Teachers Party List. Next, the chair would like to recognize next in the list for the majority, Representative Crystal Bagatsing.
Magandang hapon po, Mr. Chair. Maraming salamat po sa inyo sa Pagcor. Magandang hapon. Una sa lahat, gusto ko lang pong sabihin na hindi din po ako nag-encourage ng gambling. Pero since nandito na tayo, I enjoin Pagcor in wanting to get as much revenues as we can para mas madami pa tayong matulungan, lalo na yung mga suffering industry sa ating bansa ngayon, katulad ng yung universal healthcare, baka pwede natin matulungan, barangay frontliners and BHWs and other suffering industries. So, gusto ko lang susugan yung kaninang questions ni Deputy Speaker Benny Abante with regards to the e-sabong. Kanina po kasi, sabi ni Chair Andrea Domingo na sabi po ni DS Benny na merong kaninang may cap para sa papayagan ng franchisees. Ang tanong ko po, if the goal is to reduce illegal gambling, why make it so difficult for others to join and get a franchise? Why put a cap? Hindi ko masyadong alam yung mga gambling. So I would like to seek clarifications with regards to this. Kasi in your thrust kanina sa inyong presentation, ma'am, no, nakalagay that to ensure a conducive business environment within a level playing field. So why put a cap if you want to level the playing field? Yes, pa.
Okay, for the response, the chair would like to call on the chair of Pagcor, Chair Andrea Domingo, for the reply. The Chair and CEO of Pagcor, Andrea Domingo. Ma'am, nandyan po ba kayo? Is she still online? Can you please check the connection?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, I think I've been
Were you
unmuted,
able
so...
to
Opo.
hear the query of Representative Crystal Bagatsing?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Your Honor. We are doing this because, one, as we have done with the POGOs before, if you remember, because it's a new product for us, we limited it to 25 first. We want to be able to perfect the system of audit and monitoring. And we thought that for e-sabong, because the e-sabong that we have now is really just for inside the Philippines, 12 would be enough as a start. And also, because we wanted to be able to get really maximize and have an assured income from e-sabong, we have actually required a minimum guarantee share of 75 million per month. Kasi nga ho, pandemic at talagang kinakatas natin lahat ng ating makukuha from whatever legal revenues that we have. If later on, after we would have perfected our system, sir, then we would be, ma'am, then we should be able to expand that number para po bang yung kailangan ma-manage muna namin, hindi po yung parang ilalarga mo tapos hindi mo na alam ngayon kung paano mo siya pag-aralang mabuti, paano mong i-refine yung system, paano mong i-refine ang pagbo-monitor. So initially, we decided 12 kasi 12 lang po naman ang nag-apply. Later on po
Okay.
siguro, maybe another 3 or 6 months, we would review again to see if we're confident to take on new ones. At kung may mag-a-apply pa pong bago. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you
Salamat
very
po,
much.
ma'am.
Representative Bagatsing, please continue with your interpellation.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. So sabi po ni Madam Chair Andrea na they're trying to get as much revenues, di ba? I like that. Pero ang tanong ko po, kasi dito po sa IRR ninyo, nakalagay may 75 million performance bond and 75 million guaranteed monthly or 12,500 per file, whichever is higher. Do you think, or do we do fixed rate for all the other gaming industries that Pagcor regulates?
Yes,
Marami
Pagcor
ho,
Chair.
Mr. Chair, yun po kasing iba naming mga tulad ng aming mga kapartner na 65-35 agreement, lagi po kaming may minimum guaranteed share para po makasigurado na hindi malulugi ang Pagcor sa pag-deploy niya ng kanyang resources. So usually ho, dun sa 65-35 na memorandum of agreement with smaller boutique casinos with hotels, ang ginagawa po namin, kinocompute namin yung total OPEX namin times 3, yun ho ang minimum guarantee fee nila. Kasi po nakita namin minsan, doon sa 65-35, walang minimum guarantee fee, nalulugi po ang Pagcor, pero kumikita yung partner, yung proponent. So dahil we wanted to protect government, we have required this minimum MGS po ang tawag natin.
Okay, thank you. Representative Bagatsing for your follow-up question.
Yes. So, may hindi lang itong sa isabong ang may fixed rate. Meron din po sa iba. Ilan po ba, ano po ba ang projected revenue natin for 1 year?
Noon po walang pandemic, ang projected income namin po, Mr. Chair, ng 2020 sana, aabutin na sana kami ng 90 billion. Pero po bumaba ngayon, kahit tulad po ng sinabi namin kanina, sa 2020, umabot lang po kami ng 36 billion. At kung totoo po yung, magkakatotoo po yung sinabi ng OCTA na magluluwag na at parang ang COVID ay makokontrol na po natin itong last quarter, siguro po aabot din kami ng mga 36 to 38 billion this year. Next year po, 2022, ang projection po namin, baka umabot na kami ng 50 billion ulit. 2023, on track na po.
Ma'am, sa isabong lang po ba yan?
Representative
Hindi
Bagatsing.
po, buong ano na po yun, buong industry na po.
Ang tanong ko po is magkano po ang projected revenue?
Sa isabong, ma'am. Sa isabong po, kung susundin mo lang yung 75 million per month, ay kung 5 na sila, bali 150, 375 million a month. Pero po meron sa kanila na nakakabayad ng halos doble ng 75 million. Kaya po nitong first three months, May, June, and July, Mr. Chair, ang kita po namin sa isabong, nag-a-average ng 4 pa lang ang operators, nag-a-average na po kami ng 400 million a month.
Okay.
So ang projection po namin, mga 6 billion to 8 billion a year po.
Okay. Para sa lahat na yon.
Opo.
Okay. Okay, so I think I would just like to ask, no? So, 6
Yes, your
billion
follow-up
a
question.
year ang inyong projected revenue for everything na. Tanong ko lang, ma'am, kasi paano po tayo, ang worry ko lang is baka yung iba na gustong makakuha din or gustong mag-apply ng franchise. Kasi alam ko we have around 1,500 cockpits, and almost all municipalities have at least one cockpit. So I would just go back to my earlier point, which is to level the playing field. So I hope that Pagcor can also look into this so that we can also earn more revenues that we can also give to other suffering industries like the creative industries. Baka pwede din ninyong mabigyan ng pansin yun sa inyong mga tinutulungan. So yun
Yes.
lang po, Mr. Chair. Okay na po. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Congresswoman Magadsing, thank you for that. We are actually studying that. Kanya lang po, pag magre-regulate po kami ng 1,000 na mukhang mahirap pa po sa ngayon kasi parang nagsisimula lang po kami. Pero meron na po kaming mga study tungkol dyan, Mr. Chair and Congresswoman Magadsing. Maraming salamat po.
Salamat
Okay.
po. Okay
Thank
na,
you very
Mr.
much. Would that be all? Representative Crystal Bagatsing?
For now, yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, the chair would like to recognize Representative Mark Go. Representative Mark
Yeah.
Go.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Unang-una po, magandang hapon po sa ating pong Pagcor sa pamumuno po ni Chief Executive Officer po si Andrea Domingo. Magandang hapon po sa inyo at
Magandang
kasama
hapon
po
po.
natin sa Kongreso. I am definitely impressed with the contributions of Pagcor to national development. Dito po sa pinakita niyong mga slides, it shows here that out of an income of 81 billion in 2019, you have contributed 56 billion. So this is actually about more than almost 70% of your total income is given to the country. And in 2020, out of 36 billion income na bumaba po ito, you contributed 21.61 billion. And year to date for 2021, your income is about 16 billion, and you have already given 10 billion to the country. This is for on top of the taxes that you pay to the national government. Very impressive po ito at ako'y nagpapasalamat at in behalf of our people po. Ngayon po ang gusto ko pong tanungin ay tungkol po dito sa binibigyan nyo ng tulong in terms of financial support or aid to other government institutions. Nandito po yung Southern Philippines Medical Center and other medical centers in the country. Ang gusto ko lang pong malaman, ano po ba ang ating basis o criteria? Bakit sila ang napili natin? Siguro hindi nyo pinili yan. Baka merong nag-request sa inyo. Ano po? Pwede po bang malaman yan, ma'am? Para naman malaman po ng aming ospital dito kung paano po kami hingi ng tulong sa inyo.
Mr.
Yes,
Chair,
Pagcor.
Congressman Go, ang criteria po dyan kailangan it belongs to the charter na coverage ng Pagcor katulad po ng health, education, sports, environment. Ito pong health ang nagkaroon ng emphasis because yung administrasyon ni President Duterte, health po talaga ang kanyang focus. Kailangan po, una, government agency din po yung nagre-request. Hindi po kami masyadong nakakatulong sa mga foundations kasi po masyadong controversial yon. Kung government hospital po at pagkatapos po magbibigay sa amin ng request kung yung gagawin na bibilhin ng mga equipment, bibilhin na pinapupuntahan po namin ng mga tao at talaga pong bine-verify ng grupo ni Tibo Villaflor kung kailangan. Pag po kailangan yon, i-assess at pagka meron na kaming budget, most of the time naman po, binibigay po namin, lalo na pag sa mga hospital, sa mga provinces na mahirap talaga.
Ay, salamat po. Yung po bang Baguio General Hospital, sa mga nakaraang panahon, have you given any financial support to the hospital dito po sa Baguio?
Sir, Hindi ko
Pagcor
po
Chair.
alam kung binibigyan ni Presidente sa kanyang Social Civic Fund. Pero po yung sa amin, since na-started, wala pa po kaming nakuhang request from Baguio General Hospital.
Bukas po makakako kayo ng request sa aming medical director ng Baguio General Hospital. Alam po ninyo, itong hospital namin ito, hindi lamang po nagkikater sa mga pasyente na galing ng Baguio, kundi sa buong Cordillera po, tsaka Regions 1 and 2. Kasi po ito yung regional center dito sa tatlong riyon dito po sa Northern Luzon. Kasi po ako yung natutuwa kasi nakita ko po itong lahat ng binigyan ninyo, pati PGH, pati ang PNP, pati Dole po rito. Dole, ito pong Dole ba? Hospital po ito o ano po?
Opo.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Pagcor Chair.
Congressman Go, ano po yan? Yun po yung first OFW hospital na pinutap ng OWA at DOLE. Yun pong 200 million, kami po ang sumagot doon sa mga equipment na kakailangan sa ospital.
Maganda po yun.
Okay.
Ako po talagang nasisiyan dyan. At sana po sa inyo pong pamumuno pwede pong makatulong po kayo dito sa aming Baguio General Hospital. Napaka...
Hintayin ko po yung letter ninyo, sir.
Opo, sasabihin ko po sa aming medical director para po ako na rin ang in advance magpapasalamat po ako sa tulong ng Pagcor. Maraming po salamat Mr. Chair and sa inyo po aming pong chairperson ng Pagcor, CEO Andrea Domingo. Maya pa og tupo kayo. Dakal pong
salamat.
Dakal po
Thank
salamat.
you.
Thank you.
Representative Mark Go. Next to interpellate for the majority, Deputy Speaker Divi Sabellano.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, colleagues, fellow workers in government. Magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat. Una-una, ang distrito ko po ay nagpapasalamat sa mga tulong ng Pagcor. At lalong-lalo kay AVP Tibo Villaflor. Ang tanong ko lang po dito, yung nakita ko kasi yung meron kayong pondo na binigay sa Philippine Fiber Industry Development Authority. At yan yung advocacy ko sa amin, yung preservation ng mga living tradition, mga crafts natin. So, ang Ilocos Sur po at ang North ay known for weaving. So, paano ho kami makikinabang dun sa binigay nyo na pondo? At alam ko maliit po yun at sana mabigyan po natin ng mas malaki because yung weaving industry na ho natin ay talagang tinatamaan, medyo namamatay po. So ano po yung pwede nating una-una gusto malaman ko ano yung naibigay at para saan yung pondo na yon.
Pagcor Chair.
Mr. Chair, pwede pong si VP Villaflor ang sumagot kasi siya ang office po nila ang nag-process doon. Ang alam ko po yun ay para talaga sa fiber industry at nagbigay kami ng 5 million doon. Pero yung mga detalye po, si VP Villaflor po ang may alam. Maraming salamat po.
To respond to the query of Deputy Speaker Sabellano, the Chair would like to recognize VP Villaflor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, the Honorable D.V. Sabellano. This was a request made to support the weavers of the entire Northern Luzon, and the program was submitted to us, and for whatever use in support of those who are depending on the fiber, the weaving industry in the Ilocos region. So, based on the request, and they presented to us their program, they requested that amount. So we processed, and we are awaiting the liquidation. This is for the enhancement of the capabilities of the weavers for their training and for the other livelihood projects of the people engaged in the weaving industry.
Maraming salamat po sa sagot, Atty. Tibo. kasi po itong weaving industry, it has been by advocacy mula nung pumasok ako sa gobyerno kasi ito yung malaking challenge para sa akin, how we're going to revive it. At maliit ho yung yung 6.1 na binigay nyo. Sana ho this year bigyan na naman po natin. At yung opisina ko po, since I've been in this advocacy for so many years, gusto ko makipag-usap sa inyo kung paano natin talaga matutulungan na palakin yung industry. Kasi hindi lang naman ho yung training, marami hong una-una yung thread natin, yung planting of cotton, yung workplace, how to improve the workplace of the weavers, yung supply po ng thread. Ang dami ho nilang problema. At ito, pag napagtulungan natin sa magandang programa, mas malaki yung may tutulong natin na mabuhay pang industry.
Mr. Chair, may I respond?
Yes, Pagcor Chair.
For as long as the project is will help in the livelihood of the, because I remember once po Congressman Savellano, may pinresent po kay Presidente noon 2 years ago na matanda po ninyong weaver, the oldest weaver, I think, in Ilocos. She was 98 years old and she was still weaving.
Yeah, si Caballo.
Opo,
from
and she
Ilocos
was,
Norte.
I think po, yun ang nagsimula kung bakit nagkaroon tayo ng ganitong grant. And for as long as we are able to afford it, kasi po yung sinabi ninyong 70% ng income namin, pinibigay namin diretso sa gobyerno. Yun pong pondong pinamimigay namin yun, kasama po yun sa aming budget ng aming for our corporate social responsibility projects. We're more than willing to discuss with you or your
Yes, ma'am.
representative on how we can help the weavers. Basta lang po mag-meet ng lahat ng criteria.
Yes,
Alam
ma'am.
naman po ninyo yung mga accounting at COA.
Opo.
Katulad po ngayon, hindi kami pwedeng mag-release sa fiber, dun ho sa Philippines Fiber Industry group hangga't hindi po nila naliliquidate yung binigay po namin. Pag nag-liquidate yun, pwede pong mag-grant ulit. Kasi po mahigpit po ang COA.
Opo, anyway, sa hearing po
Yes,
ng,
DS
ng
Sabellano.
DA, yan hong isang itatanong natin sa kanila para makapagbigay na po kayo. Another thing po, yung isang advocacy ko pa, and I think napakadali pong gawin, yung yung development of the bamboo industry. I've heard na nakapagbigay na rin dati yung yung Pagcor dito. At sana pag-usapan ulit natin kasi sa tingin ko itong isang industry na madaling i-develop kasi it's all over the Philippines at talaga nangangailangan tayo dito. And yung other agencies of government, they're very much willing to help, especially yung DNR, nagiging advocacy na rin nila, yan na yung nagiging priority nila. Pero marami pa rin pagkukulang na pwede yung pagtulungan ng yung convergence of different agencies of government.
Again
Yes,
po,
Pagcor Chair.
baka hindi pa po nakaka-liquidate. Ang tanda ko, nagbigay kami, kung tama yung pagkakatanda ko, Tibo, please correct me. Nagbigay ho kami ng 15 million dun sa Bamboo Development Program sa Pangasinan. So, nakita ko rin ho yung mga produkto nila at kulang lang po siguro sa design. Pero po yung mga habing Iloco, talaga pong ako talagang hanggang-hanga dyan at talagang gusto ko rin po talagang suportahan.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
Deputy Speaker
Meron na
Sabellano.
ako ngayon nabigyan na dati, pero sa tingin ko po, hindi naman yung processing ang immediate na kailangan natin dito. Ang number one po, yung propagation and putting up of nurseries. Kasi may produkto nga, may mga naka-stand na tayong mga kawayan, pero palag walang nagtatanim, mauubos yan. So I'm more on yung propagation and yung putting up nurseries. Kasi tingin ko, yun ang isang solusyon. Because DNR, sinasabi lang magtanim sila ng kawayan, pero wala naman silang pagkukunan na itatanim nila. So yun ang nakikita ko na sana matulungan niyo po kami dito. At
Yes,
ito yung magandang programa rin ng Pagcor.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
we
Pagcor
always
Chair.
welcome good proposals because alam naman po ninyo, pinaghihirapan din namin yung aming kita. Kaya gusto rin naman po namin makapunta sa worthwhile projects with as many beneficiaries as possible. So kung po magkakaroon kami ng mga magagandang proposals, we will always look and evaluate closely and see what we can do.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
Yun lang, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chairman Domingo. Thank you, ABP Tibo, na madali yung lapitan si Tibo. So magaling ko yung ABP inyo na yan.
Thank you.
Maraming salamat po.
Salamat po.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker D.V. Savellano. Okay? So, considering that we do not have any more interpellators, the Chair would like to thank Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation for your contribution to nation building and most especially your help in this fight against COVID-19. I hope we could not as to expose gambling, but to put those revenues really into good use. And we understand that you have that effort really to catch illegal gambling operators, together with other agencies of government, so that we can more or less regulate and put into the right track, especially the mandate of Pagcor. So thank you very much, Pagcor Chair and CEO Andrea Domingo. Also our Pagcor officials present here, Vice President Ramon Villaflor, Vice President Arnold Salvosa, Vice President Ricardo Paraon. Thank you very much. So, on behalf also of the Chair of the Committee on Appropriation, Eric Goyap, and with my partner here, the Congresswoman of Iloilo. So, thank you very much also for being with us here at the Committee on Appropriation. So, with that, we now terminate the briefing of the Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation. Thank you.
Thank you po.
The hearing of the Committee on Appropriations is suspended until Monday.
Thank you. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Correction, hearing is suspended until Tuesday.